part of the struggle is what gets you there, and just enjoying the process, just enjoying your way there. Sometimes it's not about the success. Sometimes, actually, it's not about the success. It's not about the end. It's how you get there.
Everybody's got an amazing story. And so, be proud of what you're going through and realize that struggle will be a success story one day.
All right, everyone, welcome to Pochi Bubble Tea Spill the Tea. Today we have a very unique guest. He is a friend of ours since, high school. He was my roommate for a while. Crazy story there. He is a YouTube guru. This guy, if you guys have not seen, go check it out. It's on Amazon. YouTube Secrets. He is the very 0 to 100 type of guy. He's been doing everything across the board and tried everything. A true entrepreneur, a true business mind individual. I want to welcome Benji to our podcast.
Thank you. It's so awesome to be here. It's amazing story what you guys started, and I can't believe I'm at your podcast now. So thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming, man. Why don't you let everybody, because I know there's a lot of things that you have done along the way.
Okay.
Why don't you give our audience a little bit, for those that may not have heard of you yet, they're about to hear about you. So
all right.
Give them a little something about you.
Well, first off, I'm a friend of yours. Goes way back. I mean, obviously, also with Arthur. And grew up here in the Pacific Northwest, north of Seattle. Started off just really, using YouTube as somebody that was watching videos. I used to work at a YMCA, and kids used to watch YouTube videos to learn how to breakdance, right? Proper term, b-boying. And so the reason I start that is because the last decade of my life has been consumed by YouTube. But the very beginning, I wasn't ever thinking of it as a platform to basically create a lifestyle, right?
Yep.
Run a business. And so those days I literally used it to promote B-Boy Jams, events of ours. I was watching an old video of you and I promoting it.
Oh, man.
This
360?
is 2005 or something like that,
gosh.
maybe 2004.
Yeah.
My first YouTube video that I uploaded was 2006 just to promote that event.
Whoa.
And so when I first started, it was purely just something I used very casually. But my wife, who then was my girlfriend, started a beauty channel. And I used to laugh at her, told her she was wasting her time. And I didn't think that it was going to go very far. But she has a last laugh because of what I'm about to tell you. About 2 years into it, she went full-time on YouTube, convinced me that this was a real thing. We avoided going to makeup stores because she was getting makeup sent to her every single day. I realized, okay, there's an opportunity here. Let's, milk it for all it's worth. I thought it was going to be like 12 months. 14 years later, she's my boss. I've been a vlogger with her for over 10 years now. Started multiple channels. I wrote a book with my friend Sean Cannell called YouTube Secrets. So like you said, I've literally done it all. I've got a food channel. I always wanted to be on the Food Network. Got to experience that.
Benji Man TV,
Yeah.
man.
Raising my family on YouTube, which is a fun experience, as well as I got to travel the world. So many amazing people I've met. And so it's hard to really explain what I've done, but in a nutshell, that's what it is. I'm consumed by YouTube. I love social media. I think that it has more good than bad, even though the press these days would convince you otherwise. And so my goal right now is to help other people, follow their passion, make it into a profitable business, and coach creators who do it full time.
One thing that I know I admire about you, and I've told Vaylin about this too a long time ago, how humble you are, because you really helped with, like, as far as getting Judy's channel just take off and everything. We've had this discussion, and you told me, and this stuck with me, you are the best number 2. Right? You don't try to be the person in the front. You don't try, like, where you best are suited to support the team, and you put yourself in that position to support the team. And that was like, man, that's huge. That still rings in my head till this day, that where your strength is, and you definitely double down on that, and you're so humble with that.
Yeah, I think self-awareness is so important in life. It's not really talked about a
No,
lot.
yeah.
So I'm proud to be a number two, right? Obviously, everybody wants to be number one or they want to be out in front. Funny story, because Arthur being here, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. This has been my position way before YouTube. I always cling on to mentors, and I like supporting the leader, whoever is running the show. And so I talked about that B-boy channel was called 360, and then Arthur started breaking the silence. Now Arthur and I both know that a 360. I mean, I was full time at the YMCA. That was my job. But I had no problems letting Arthur be the front man, right? There'd be often times where I would show up at jams and I'd be promoting the event, and they'd see the flyer and they say, "Oh, this is Arthur's jam, right?" I was like, "Oh yeah, totally. I'm with Arthur, right?" Nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's so important to have a number two, a number three, have a team of people. If everybody's trying to be number one, things won't get done. So I appreciate you highlighting that. And you've always been so good. And I feel like sometimes maybe some people do, I don't know if this is you, because they feel like they want to give me some flowers, like give me some credit. I guess that's where I'm different from other people. I don't mind that I don't get the credit, or people don't praise me. I've met so many YouTubers who, after an hour of talking to me, realize, okay, well, Benji's kind of knows what's going on with YouTube. I could learn a thing or two, because previously they thought I was just the YouTube husband, right?
Yeah.
I'm the guy just playing with the kids, doing goofy dances, and I've always been behind the scenes. I'm still behind the scenes. I think that for me, that's where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I've got my own channels where I'm the star of the show. I'm in the limelight. But when it comes to my bigger vision, I always like connecting with somebody that I think has a true passion and a drive that's completely organic, because I'm a businessman first, right?
Yep,
Before I'm a
100%.
creator. And Judy, it's very obvious because she still edits every single day. She still edits. She's on a vacation right now, and she was editing. So we're talking 12 years. She's uploaded over 4,000 videos.
Edit all by yourself.
All by herself. When you find somebody like that in your life, whether it's your wife, it's a business partner, or just somebody that you believe in, I believe for what I do, I want to get 100% behind that. And so that's no different than when I was at the YMCA, working with Arthur, working with my mentors before on different programs. But so that's kind of my perspective of being a number two.
That's the thing. The biggest thing that people don't really see is all the hard work that goes behind it. And you said your first upload was 2006.
Yep.
It's 2023. And it's taking that long to get where you guys are now, and you're still growing. Your business is expanding, and we talk off script and everything, and off camera and stuff between the two of us, and you're expanding the business, and it's taken a long time, and it's taken a lot of time, and I think that's something that a lot of people, it's one of those things that Instagram, everybody just sees the highlight reels, right? Yeah. But I think. I'm glad you're here, because we get to talk about some of the hard work that you've actually put into building what I would call your empire, the Travis empire, which is still growing, which is so fun to see. It's being in Japanese class with you. We sat next to each other, and we
shared real
food.
Personal.
Yeah, and like sitting next to you, sharing food and stuff. We still hang out, and then randomly going around, and people are like, "Oh, can we take a photo?" And like, this guy.
Yeah, that's crazy. No, I want to say something. I actually thought about this, so it's not on the fly. Everybody wants to pay attention or pays attention to the success story.
Yep.
When there's a struggle story, that's even more important, right?
The messy middle.
And most people just struggle, and that's it, and they quit or they move on to something else. It's those people that don't and just pursue and persist that get to the success story. The struggle story is absolutely part of it, but it's a struggle story to me that actually is important to learn from, both as the individual going through it, as well as somebody maybe that's aspiring to become whatever it is you want to, go after. So we didn't necessarily struggle, but again, I keep talking about that B-Boy Jam. I remember that's a good. You want to talk about a fun story of struggle? When Arthur and I first put that on, nobody believed in us, right?
Yeah.
Everyone thought it was so we live in basically what's a farm town of Seattle. It's not anymore. It's more like a suburb. But back in the day, there was literally strawberry fields in this city.
Our high school was right by the cow
exactly.
fields, so.
We smelled the cow manure
every
single
morning,
day, right?
Every morning.
And so when we wanted to put on this B-Boy Jam in the midst of like so many amazing events in the Northwest, people almost kind of chuckled or laughed it off. And that first event, we had maybe barely over 100 people.
Yeah,
barely. Barely. And then by the end of the, 8-year run when we were really going strong, I would definitely say we're top 3 in the Northwest. At one point, we had over 1,000 people in one of these events, which is freaking mind-blowing. Yeah. And it no longer was a like cheesy little event in the middle of nowhere. It was like the premier B-Boy battle for crews. And so that's why I love sitting here with Arthur in terms of that season, because that was the struggle story, right? Yeah. We that video, I'm telling you, we should like either show it or talk about it. We were going to record stores in Seattle. We drove all the way to malls in Vancouver, BC. Yep. Right? We went to places that now I'm thinking about, it's like, why would you even go there? But we were struggling to just get people there. We went to every single B-Boy Jam.
Just hit the ground.
I mean, you tell me, what else did we do that now you can't even fathom because we have technology makes it so easy?
Yeah, just the amount of like paper flyers we passed out was kind of crazy. Like,
I remember getting those.
Yeah, we passed them out everywhere. Schools, record stores, malls.
Paper flyers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed to say we had paper flyers.
Went to all the other YMCAs across like the Northwest, from like, all the way up in was that Burlington?
We couldn't even afford regular flyers. I remember it was literally we worked at a YMCA. Arthur was a volunteer there, so we had a copy machine, and we literally printed on goldenrod paper.
Yep.
And we hand cut all these things and handed those out. That is so crazy.
Cut them into circles because 360.
Oh my god!
Wow.
We're innovative.
Wow.
Hey, shout out to Jennifer. So Jennifer was also the co-founder of that event. And one reason I want to give her credit is because she literally had to hand cut all those circle flyers for us.
That's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, so those were the struggle stories that made the success story what it is. Everybody wants to kind of skip it. They don't even know they're skipping it. They just want to get right to that. And so everything in life, including YouTube and social media, is just the same.
It's all humble beginnings. I mean, honestly, like that's kind of where we all kind of came from. It's just kind of humble beginnings, which is kind of cool. I still remember our living room was nothing in it except 2 hand-me-down seats.
Struggle story.
Yeah. And this was back when Blockbuster was actually a thing. And we each got the unlimited rentals, and we just walked down the street to Blockbuster, hand in the old.
We milked that membership,
oh, man.
my lord. We milked it because we couldn't afford
we didn't have
TV.
cable.
Yeah, and so we went to Blockbuster every day before there was a Netflix, before you could connect it to the internet, and so our TV was Blockbuster. It was literally everything. That was just after we both worked full-time jobs, right? Yep. And we were both in martial arts too, and doing all kinds of stuff. This is on top of us doing our different activities. So yeah, I do remember those days, and I remember that living room. We had 2 couches. I wouldn't even call it a couch. It was like a wicker basket that was on like a stand, right? Yeah. And then you had a proper couch, like Lazy Boy.
It was like a little swivelly thing. Yeah, it was weird.
And I'm not kidding you. In addition to that, we had a TV and a lamp. That was our whole living room.
Yeah, the lamp in the corner.
So just imagine that picture. Now we live in proper homes.
And the shades that were cut.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was he liked to practice in the living room and cut the blind.
I was practicing
about that.
Yeah, I was practicing with a sword in the living room.
I literally just came home one day and they were cut in half, and I looked at him. He's like, I was practicing with a sword. I literally didn't say anything. I just went right into my room. Like, okay. But we were on the second floor. It didn't matter.
That was fun times, man. Even up to that point, leading up to that point, I remember like, I was living was that in the basement. I was renting out a basement that you were
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
rent out,
Yep.
and then somebody, the landlord was saying, "Oh yeah, somebody's gonna rent out the room," and the knock came, and there's Benji. I'm like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were both really young. You were way younger than me because I didn't realize you weren't 18 yet. That's another story. But I remember that's why you and I are close because it was at a time where we were both 100% independent. I
Oh,
would
yeah.
argue you were even more independent than me. But I moved out. I was about 18, and I was going to move into my first place. But then when I met you, we quickly had coffee. I don't think we actually drank coffee. We went somewhere else. And we were chatting. We're like, we should just move in together into like a proper apartment. And so we went to go apply to that apartment when we had no money. And I think that's like assisted living or
Yeah, it was like
not assisted.
low
It's like
income.
a low
Low
income,
income apartment.
apartments, which is crazy to think how much we paid there. It's so little,
Right?
right?
Oh my gosh.
But we couldn't move in right away because somebody wasn't 18 yet and didn't tell me that. So we had to wait 3 months. That was fun.
Oh man, yeah, it was low income, and we were still kind of I remember I was still struggling.
I call it
was-
the chicken and rice days because literally that's what I ate.
Chicken,
Chicken and rice, right? I
ramen.
bought chicken
Top
and,
ramen.
and a bulk. Of course, rice was much more cheaper back then. I lived across the street from where I work, so I didn't need that much money. And I didn't have a commute. We both didn't really have a commute,
No,
so
yeah.
we didn't need a lot. But I don't know how you felt, but I didn't look at it as a struggle. I was excited. I was like, man, this is.
No, it wasn't a struggle.
Yeah.
Like maybe like financially, I know I was like counting,
Yeah.
but like as far as our day to day, it was fun. Like we were
Yeah.
doing the things that we enjoyed.
I think that's another thing too when I thought about what we would talk about today because I know we're talking about what people don't see. What helps us get through those struggle stories or the years that, most people don't enjoy is your perspective.
Yeah.
We had a good perspective. We were very optimistic. We were really hungry, literally,
Yeah.
but also hungry for life and in what we were doing. So we got through those times without the kind of negativity and the pessimism that most
Yeah.
people have. And that's never left me. Even to this day, when you could absolutely say I've had success and I'm comfortable, I'm definitely not eating just chicken and rice, right? I eat whatever I want. I still have that same perspective, and that's what's helped me throughout all the struggles.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. Like not having much, I think it's really led to a certain level of appreciation for what you do have. Nothing was. We were definitely not handed anything at that point. So, but like kind of looking at your journey, Benji, it was just kind of interesting because I do remember working at the outlet mall for a while, and I remember Judy working at that
Oh yeah.
makeup spot like down the way,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden she was gone, and next thing I knew, the makeup YouTube thing for her just blew up. I know it wasn't overnight, that I know for sure, but it seemed like overnight because it was like one day she's there, one day she's not, and then one day her makeup YouTube channel is just everywhere. So what was that process like I mean, I even remember you guys recording in your room at one point in time.
Yeah, and just to maybe give some numbers for context, Judy and I have been legit YouTubers, creators for
Right.
over a decade. We've got on one channel over 1 billion views. Judy's uploaded 4,000 videos. On numerous other channels, I've easily uploaded a few hundred videos myself. We've made a living off of YouTube full time since 2010.
Awesome.
Judy kind of struggled through making a living since 2008. And so we've gone through the whole evolution, but how it started is, makeup. So Judy had a passion for makeup, and she was watching other women who were teaching makeup tips and hairstyles on YouTube. And then she thought, you know what? I want to do this. Just purely because I think I could share something maybe from the perspective of a non-professional.
Yeah.
And so she was making videos, and she probably didn't even know like who's gonna watch this. She just wanted to do it because she saw other women doing
Yeah.
it. Michelle Phan is one of the OGs, like the true makeup guru. They don't like using that term, but that's what they were, right? And so she basically replicated it from her own voice, very authentic, very organic, didn't really think it through. But her first setup, when I used to, make fun of her, was shoe boxes for her tripod. It was literally 3 or 4 shoe boxes to get the camera at the right height. We're talking $60 camera. You remember back in the day, we'd go clubbing. We actually had the camera, right? I didn't have the camera. I remember women always had that camera. That was the camera she used, right? We're talking 2000.
Clubbing camera.
The clubbing camera. And then you go upload it. You go upload it when you get home, and then upload it to MySpace, and that's how you got pictures. Yes, young people.
MySpace. Oh, we're going
we
way
used to have
back.
to wait to get that picture up online, right? So that's what she used, and then she had the oldest, crappiest laptop, and she used a free editing software. That's how she got started, and she really had that set up for a good 6 months. And I thought, you know what? I should get her a tripod. So I thought I was a hero getting her the tripod. And then eventually, when this was like, there was just so many boxes everywhere, and she actually had her set up at the corner of our bedroom, right? At the time, in front of the window, because she got natural light. I thought, I'm going to do her a huge favor and let her have half my real estate office, right? Because back then I was a real estate agent, not realizing that, yes, she had half of the room. I got a proper desk. I put up lights, and the production team's going to appreciate this. I didn't understand, temperatures and, warm and bright lights. So literally she had a mix of light bulbs. So she would go from like a nice, perfect, bright, skin tone to like yellow. And she's like, honey, I'm showing my makeup, but it's changing colors. I'm like, what the hell is going on, right? Her background was my desk. And this was not conscious. I wasn't trying to be in her videos. I just I didn't understand production at all. I didn't understand. I just thought, she just needs a space to be able to do what she does. Literally, I'm on my computer in the background, and it's all my Post-it notes, my desktop computer. It's a mess, right? I have my cork board where I had all my notes and everything. That was how she got started. That's how the It's Shitty Time was born. And so that's the beginning of our YouTube journey. I really got involved outside of the production, which wasn't even that good, as her business manager. And so even in the beginning, I was just doing her a favor again, like was my spare time, to help her with these negotiations. At first, it was just like getting free makeup. So there was none. It's just like, hey, we're going to send it to you. Could you please talk about it? Some people said, yep, you have to talk about it. And so at one point when they were starting to offer money, she didn't really understand or know what to do. I didn't either, but I acted like I did, right? I felt like I knew.
I love that.
But I enjoyed being on the phone. I love negotiation. Like I said,
Oh,
business for me is fun. It's not scary. Even if I don't know what I'm doing, I'll just kind of figure it out along the way.
Oh, yeah.
And even when I did it, I was just having fun because I didn't take it that seriously. I wasn't looking to create a whole career or business out of it. I was just like, I'm going to help you out. You're making money. That's awesome. You probably should get paid more money. And that was really the beginning of my journey on both YouTube as well as being a creator with her. And so that was 2008, 9, and 10. I was helping part-time. 2011, I went full-time. She was already full-time. And then we got married, and then the rest is history.
I love that. That is such a fun story.
I love about that story too is that both of you just started. Like you just started and went for it, even if it wasn't all perfect, right? Like,
definitely wasn't perfect.
Yeah, even with like, if you guys knew about what the background looked like and all those little details, like I feel like that would stop a lot of people, you know, from just starting in the first place. So I love that you guys just did it anyways.
And those videos are still up, right?
Most of them are still up. In the beginning, there was a lot of copyright issues with music. There was no rules, really. It wasn't like really known. So she used some mainstream music. So some of those videos got taken down, or she took them down. But a lot of the early ones from 2008 and 9 are still up there. You can kind of see it if you can find it, because it changed a whole way to look for videos. But yeah, it's really important to consider that if you're going to start anything, you can't worry about what other people are thinking. Because if Judy worried about what I thought, she would have just stopped,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm,
true.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be the one person she can trust, and I'm like, like just discounting what she was doing. I mean, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life outside of marrying her and having kids. This is like crazy, and if she was derailed by that, or just, and we grew up, like I said, I say farm town, it legit was a farm town.
Yeah.
Okay, when we moved there, chicken manure smells, strawberry fields, and the only thing that replaced it was just housing, right? Even to this day, our
Yeah.
downtown still looks the same, which is sad. And nobody in 2008 back then was thinking, let's start a YouTube channel. Back then, it wasn't even a thing to be an identity, right? Like a
Yeah.
personality on YouTube. You use YouTube for promoting something
Yep.
or recording yourself and putting it out there, but never thinking, I'm going to get known from this.
Yep.
You were just doing it very, I'd say, altruistically. You're just doing it because you thought somebody else might benefit from this, right? Or it's just fun. And if you worried about, and that's why those early days, the people that were on there, really, in my opinion, were the most organic, most passionate
Yeah.
people. Because nowadays, nothing wrong with it. Some of the motives are, I could make money, right? I could get famous. This is a necessary part of my business. Those early years, whoever started, I have a lot of respect for and still have relationships with all those people because they did it purely because there was something they loved and they just wanted to do it. And if you let somebody's opinion stop you, just as important today, maybe more important, because now people really are gunning for you, that would be a shame. Because everything that Judy's accomplished, my wife, and everything that we've experienced would not have happened because I know there's people that didn't think this was cool, including myself, right? And so, yes. Yeah,
Well, I
it's
think
like
the level of authenticity at that point too was much greater because, like we were saying right now, there's ulterior motives sometimes by hopping on a YouTube so you can get business.
Right.
So I think just purely out of like, this is fun, I want to do this just because I want to. It was a lot of people were a lot more authentic. Not saying that they aren't now. It's
Yeah.
just back then when being a YouTuber wasn't really a business. It was kind of just like, this is great, this is
Yeah.
fun.
And I
You
think
just wanna
that's
do
why
it.
a lot of people really connected to
Yeah.
your channels and Judy's channels because you kind of see that shine through in her videos, right? You can really see that it was authentic and like she was enjoying the process, and I think people can relate to that.
Yeah.
And when they can see that and relate to that, it's like it makes it more appealing to watch.
So I kind of want to circle back to, well, you've had all this experience, all this work with YouTube and stuff, and then eventually the culmination of that, a point of it at least, was your book, YouTube Secrets. And I gotta say that I really appreciate the audiobook to that because you were the one reading it,
Yeah.
and Sean was reading it too,
Yep.
right? So it was like I love it when the authors read their own books. There's just so much that comes out of it.
Yeah.
But like all that has gotten to the point where you wrote that book. So like that, can you kind of dive into that journey? Like what led you into writing that book and deciding, you know what, all my experience, because it's an easy book to read. It's very helpful.
It is really easy, and we're proud of that too.
Yeah, you guys made it really easy for people to just understand where to start, how to start.
Yeah.
But can you kind of dive into like what led up to that book?
Yeah, for sure. I gotta flex a little bit here. This is one thing I'm really proud of. It is an easy book to read, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's the #1 book for YouTube. No one can even touch that book. I mean, go to Amazon. Even if you try to buy another YouTube book, this gets suggested by Amazon. Hey,
That's awesome.
often people buy this book too, and so it's just crazy what's happened. But it's a good point that a lot of people don't understand. It's easy to read, easy to listen to. We do have the second edition, which is longer, right? But back in the day, you could have really had a long weekend and finished the book. Now it's going to be maybe 2 weekends, but still, it's great. How the book idea started was 2014. My friend Sean Cannell, who at the time lived, I believe, in Las Vegas. I met him here in the Seattle area, was flying back, and he had listened to a podcast or something about somebody who had a business called Book in the Box, right? and they were just talking about importance of having a book. And at the same time, Sean, who is a co-author of the book, him and I geeked out on YouTube. So we were really early in thinking about YouTube as this proper platform because we saw how positive it was on our life.
Yep.
At the time, he was using it for his job in the church that he was working at, to market their services, and he was working for other entrepreneurs. For me, it was more as a creator, right? Judy being the creator, I was a vlogger at the time, and we were understanding things that now is common knowledge. You kind of have to have a YouTube channel if you're a brand and you want to create content that's going to reach a global audience. But back then, it still was in its beginning stages, and we thought, there's not really a book about this. And he had this idea, like, I think I need to get a book, and we gotta do this together. I don't know how it worked, if like I snuck my way into the book, or if he like said, you want to read it? We don't know. We were so passionate, and we were so close as friends, and we didn't have anybody to talk about. We thought, let's just do this.
Nice.
And well, let's sign up with this company. Back then, they were called Book in the Box because we had never written a book before, had no experience. I like to write and enjoy it. Sean, he also is a great writer, but he also is just smart in general, like how to put things together. And so we decided, hey, let's partner. In fact, there's a video, end of 2014. This is also on YouTube. In my backyard, this is when I was daily vlogging. So like I had a camera. I was like, bro, let's start a YouTube channel for the book too, right? He's like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's prove what we're gonna put in the book. And so also just to give some context, the book is how to start a YouTube channel, how to understand the platform, and basically become a full-time creator or use it for your business, right? And we thought, hey, we're gonna apply the principles. We didn't really think it through like this. It's just like, it makes sense. Let's start a YouTube channel to promote the book. So I filmed it right there on the spot. It's funny because this is probably the only time I've ever seen Sean nervous on camera before, because I have been vlogging.
He's a natural.
Yeah, he's a natural now after literally thousands of videos. But I knew the importance of starting this YouTube channel. I said, hey, this is going to be our first video. Let's tell people about it. That was 2014. We thought it was going to take 6 months, right? Another struggle story here. 4 years. Woo. 4 years of just life and running the business and opportunity and stresses and all this and that. We never quit, right? And the original price for a Book in the Box was $10,000, and we'll honor it, right? But then they changed their business name to Scribe, so shout out to Scribe. And by the end of our 4 years, the fee was like 30 grand, right? So we felt like super lucky. But 10 grand back then, even though I was doing pretty good, and he had a full-time job, was a lot of money to spend on something we didn't know like what would happen with it. And we're not like, we're first-time authors. The whole point of Scribe is to help you write the book, right? Yeah. They're like the ghostwriters behind the scenes. You're the author, proper author, but they're just putting everything together because they're and we self-published, so we didn't get a publisher or anything like that. So we published it, self-published in 2018, and that book has helped so many creators, so many people, kids and grown people, entrepreneurs, and people that want to be a creator. So I'm really proud of that book, and now it's in its second edition because, we're writing a book for YouTube, right? The question is, and Gary Vaynerchuk, I was on his podcast, and he asked me, because he was promoting the book for us. He's like, why'd you write a book, Benji? Why didn't you just make videos? Which we did, right? Yeah. That channel, by the way, it's called Video Influencers. Hundreds of videos, hundreds of interviews. We've had all kinds of YouTubers and creators, 500,000 subscribers. And that's just like, we called it the side hustle channel, right? Yeah. But it's like a legit channel. But when Gary asked me that, like, why'd you write the book? And it was so easy. It was like, because there's still a lot of people that don't know the opportunity of YouTube and are reading books, right? The second reason, though, is because in this day and age, it's not as common to have like an artifact, like something. So a book is like your business card. Yep. It's the ultimate business card. Oh, yeah. I mean, like, it's everything that you've learned, it's decades put into that, little pamphlet. And so that was the other reason, and we want like people that have something and a reference point. But actually the most important reason is because we want to help other people experience what we experience and get that success. We tell people about the struggles right up front. We don't sugarcoat it. In fact, we share the stories so that you know that, hey, we went through it too. We know what you're going through. And at the end of this is a ton of opportunity. And I can't tell you how many YouTubers, creators, even like people that aren't YouTubers but just use YouTube and maybe they're on Instagram, come up to me all the time saying, thank you so much for writing that book. That was kind of the beginning, or, you know, I was going through some hard times and that really, you know, motivated me. I'm really proud of this. Sorry, I'm just ranting on this.
I love it.
The first comment on the Amazon listing for YouTube Secrets was from a YouTuber that had 1 million subscribers.
Whoa.
And it was a big deal because the book was really written more for beginners, but we knew it would help anybody, including full-time creators. And he said, you know, I read this book. I'm already a full-time YouTuber, but I can tell you not only is everything that they talk about the truth, it's important for me to read this and be reminded of what it takes to be successful on this platform. I was like, whoa, my gosh, I couldn't believe it. We were like waiting for the first comment, right? And it came pretty quick. Who knows? He might have been trying to get exposure too, but it had nothing to do with our niche. And that was my favorite comment ever, because it really was why I wrote the book. Because I'd say the last thing I want to say in relation to that is, you can learn all these skills. I told you I didn't know how to light, right? Like, I definitely don't use lamps to light my wife's setup, right? I have proper, you know, equipment now. The algorithm, editing, you know, understanding, you know, how to tag and all that stuff. Anybody can figure that out. There's not just books. There's a ton of videos. Everything's out there. Even if you have to pay for stuff, there's going to be courses that will teach you literally step by step everything to do. The number one most important aspect of succeeding on YouTube and social media is never quitting. Is persistence. And that's what I hope that book and anything I do, including this podcast, will do for somebody, because that's why I led with the struggle story. If you just get through those struggles, there's success on the other side. You might not even know for sure.
That's true.
Like what it is you're learning or what it is you're gaining, but it is. And I feel like you guys should talk, because you guys have your success story. This is one reason I'm so proud of what you guys created, because I remember at the beginning, right? Pochi's bubble tea wasn't what it is today.
It was
you know?
interesting.
Even me, I was like, hey, are you sure you want to do a bubble tea shop? I mean, it's like you guys never ran a bubble tea shop, and I've been there. It's not the best place or anything like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Arthur had some balls, because I was like, hey, can I borrow a ton of money to do this? Because I'm broke. In fact, I'm not even broke. I'm like negative. Yeah. So this guy has some major cojones just to let me borrow some money from him and get the business started. So.
And none of us have worked in food or beverage at all.
Yeah.
So we had no business running a bubble tea shop.
No sales. I love that, like with you having chatted with Gary and stuff, like meeting him, that like changed the way I managed the team. So that was like, it's kind of funny too, because he says about like, you know, 70% of the people that meet me for the first time don't like him. I was part of that 70%, because the person that introduced me to Gary, I was like, why the fuck is this guy cussing so much? Well, I'm cussing so much too. And it was like, it's kind of funny, like I do it a lot, but like when I first came across Gary, I was like, I don't know. After a while, like listening to him and stuff, the guy spit some bars. And when I actually got to talk to him and meet him in person in Canada, it was like kind of cool, because it was the person that you see is a person that is there. And so that really helped me like change the way I manage and like work with the team. And then so something that he says too is you got to really enjoy the journey. Like when you're talking about the struggle, right? Part of the struggle is what gets you there. And just enjoying the process, just enjoying your way there. Sometimes it's not about the success. Sometimes, actually, it's not about the success. It's not about the end. It's how you get there. And that's more important than anything.
Can I disagree with you?
Yeah, go for it, man. Absolutely.
Because you're my friend, I can disagree with you.
Hell yeah.
So easily. But I feel like you and I probably have a similar perspective. I thought about this today too. I was working out at the gym and I was using the row machine, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody really, really, truly enjoys the struggle.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a perspective where we kind of like we have gratitude and we're positive minded, but like when shit sucks, it just is horrible.
Yeah.
Okay. I always tell people embrace it, but I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I was like, it's going to be crappy and you're not going to want to be here again. In fact, it's going to drive you to never return to that place again.
Yeah.
Even Gary, right, who's super successful, he talks about his struggle days when, you know, like he had to work at his parents' liquor shop every single day while all his friends were, you know, out doing stuff. And he claimed all these years that, oh, you know what, I knew what I was doing and whatever. And now, hindsight, he says, no, I wish I like maybe spent more time with some friends or enjoyed life or whatever. Interesting how like perspectives change, right? But the point I'm trying to make is maybe not falling in love or enjoying that, like the struggle, but falling in love with what gets you through that. And so talking about the row machine, right? So I rode today for 55 minutes, okay? Anybody that's worked out, especially if you're working out for the first time, it's mind-numbing doing the same thing over and over and over. You and I both know, I mean, Arthur, you too, right? Like, but martial arts, you have to do one punch 1,000 times, maybe 100,000 times. It is mind-numbing. Fall in love with the rep, though, okay? With every time you pull. And what I mean is, even though it's mind-numbing to do it and like you get bored, most people just quit, right? They can't go an hour because it's just they're addicted to their phones. They need to be listening to something. They want to be doing something that they think is beneficial. They don't see like the good in it. But if you fall in love with the rep, or you at least enjoy it, know that every single time you pull that machine, right, this row machine, that's adding, or that's getting you one step closer to that success story, right? It's hard when things are really bad to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So just be super focused. And so I was thinking about this as I'm rowing the machine, and this is my secret, okay? This is where, when I say disagree, you know, you and I are on the same page with this, right? I get micro-focused on this rep. And I just got to pull it. I just got to pull it. I just got to pull it. Same thing with YouTube videos. I just got to post. I just got to post. The last C in the 7 C's of success for YouTube is consistency, right? And we don't dive into it enough because we have a whole book to write. But if there's one thing I could add, or one thing I could leave anybody with in terms of getting to that light, just focus on that rep, right? And the rep could, for you, it does, I don't know, what's your business? For you guys, is the bubble tea, right? Make that bubble tea, make that bubble tea, make every bubble tea a little bit better, right? Not even 1%, like 0.5%. But you do that 1,000 times, 10,000 times, the bubble tea 20,000 later is going to be way better than the first one. And so you just focus on that one thing. Too many people just, like the mind-numbing reps, it just gets to them, versus for me, every time I pull, that's easy to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right? And don't worry about where you're at, what people think. I told you, like, you know, don't let people's opinions or what they say bother you. Just focus on that rep, and you just do that. It's kind of like you were talking about, some people get so close to the gold, right? The gold mine, right? And they stop.
Yeah.
I literally just keep chipping away until I'm dead. That's kind of how it looked like.
See, this is what I love about this guy right here. So
you don't have to die, you know.
No.
You'll get to the goal.
And here's the thing: is like I love that you say this, that we disagree on some stuff and we're friends, and it's still like it's not really. I think what I talk about as regarding the subject is not necessarily. I think our idea of approach is different, but our execution is very similar. Because the way I look at this too is, like, I totally see what you're saying there, and the way I look at it is a little bit different, and I think that's why we disagree on it. But I think our approach is so similar.
Well,
like
we're
we
both
talked about
martial artists too,
yeah, that's
so
the thing.
we
When
know.
you say martial art, so like I relate this to dopamine, right? Because when somebody looks at the success, that's the dopamine right there at the end.
Yeah.
The more you train yourself, and this is why having a
There's
9 to
no
5.
dopamine in the suck.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I disagree with that.
Oh, okay, for you.
I disagree with that. That's right. So here's the
He
thing.
likes to punish
Like,
himself.
I love punishing myself. I love it when it hurts. And that's just me. One person's perspective. That's just me. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, this is why I think I could ever work a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, because it's like you always look forward to the weekend, right? There's that dopamine hit at the very end, which makes Monday to Friday really long. Right? The 9 to 5 sucks for me, one person's opinion, because you're looking for that dopamine at the end of the day, right? This is why I enjoy the process. I enjoy the pain, because let's talk about the punching, right? That 1,000 times of punches. When you punch 100 times and when you do it properly, it sucks because it takes your whole body. That punch isn't just a punch; it's your whole body into it. And if I focus on, okay, if I do this 1,000 times, my last punch at the thousandth punch is gonna be just on point. Well, that's my dopamine hit at the end, and I don't want to get there because that 999 punches is gonna really suck. So I focus on every single punch, the process, the pull that you're talking about, and even though maybe the 552nd punch really sucks and it hurts, it's like, ooh, I pivoted my hip just right. Yes. 553. Oh, you know what? My shoulder pivoted. My shoulder just went right into that. That was good. Like, every single one has a kind of a win for me. So no matter how much the struggle is, every step of the journey, no matter how much it sucks, no matter how much it's absolute shit, I love it, because there's always a micro win in every single thing. Like, that's one person's
This
perspective.
is me and Ralph sparring right now.
Yeah, but you're listening to both of your guys' kind of like approach at it. It's kind of like, it is kind of similar though. It's like you guys find your own joy or passion or like optimism in some part of that rep, of that struggle.
Part of the journey.
Yeah. And I think because both of you guys are able to do that, that's what keeps you going. So like your approaches are very similar, but you guys find just something a little different.
We think of it
that.
differently, I think.
Yeah.
We're also Asian too, so like, pain is part of the process.
Yep.
No avoiding it.
Yeah, I talk about Arthur because he's here. He's one of the greatest b-boys I personally know that I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
right?
Atrix. Look it up.
In person.
Appreciate that, man.
And I don't even know. It's like, what are the chances? So looking at all these b-boy battles that we threw, the 360, right? And there are so many times I remember, because we worked together and he would practice at the YMCA. I mean, one practice and another practice didn't look that different. And so we want to talk about mind-numbing reps, okay? And I could see, like, I saw the stress in his eyes sometimes, right? It's like, I'm not getting this or whatever. Another fun story, the last significant 360 in the sense that I was part of that, I planned, Arthur and his crew won. And that was arguably the biggest prize, too, because there was a prize for it. And I was watching that video when you guys won that. Pretty epic, because the best b-boy crews in the Northwest were coming to our jam, and they were winning it, right?
Yeah.
Massive Monkeys, Dance Brooms. There's a few others. So
sometimes even from like out of
From
state.
California and from Canada, they
For
were
sure.
coming down,
And so, and Arthur's crew at the time when they won wasn't just all people from that town we grew up in. It was a mix, but there was a few, right, from our area. So, that's a good example. I knew Arthur when he first started, and like getting a windmill, which is the most basic thing, was like a big deal, right?
It
right?
was
Right?
also very mind-numbing, just over and over again until you get it.
And you remember winning that last battle, right? Like, how good did that feel? That was a big
Good.
prize.
That's good, yeah. It was good.
And it makes all those. I mean, is there anything you want to speak to? Because I think that, especially with b-boying, it doesn't lead to a business or a career for most people. It's not a huge industry, right? So it's even more mind-numbing, because it's like you're just doing this purely for the love of dance.
Yeah, purely for the love of it. I mean, I've been out of the scene for a while now, so definitely things have changed. Like, obviously now, like, a lot of the dancers nowadays, when it comes to breaking, like, now breaking is in the Olympics. And you have Team USA preparing for that, and a whole bunch of other teams. That was actually one of my dreams back then, to try to go and do that. But Yeah, nowadays there's just so much more opportunity, at least compared to when I was doing it. Maybe like you said, if I just kept doing it, kept going, I could have been part of Team USA. Who knows? But I know my body doesn't feel like it would agree with that. But as far as like breaking goes, or even just dance in general, as you know, you're a dancer as well. Like going along with being consistent, the consistency, and how you said how you hyper focus on that rep. Same thing with dancing is like you hyper focus on like at least for us, it'd be like we focus on the details of each individual movement. And sometimes we do that movement over and over again until the details are exactly how we want it and we execute the way we want to. And who knows how long that could take. Sometimes it could take a day, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. Sometimes it took me years to get one single move that I wanted. So, it's just, you just gotta, whether you enjoy the pain like Ralph or, you know, you just have to kind of push through it and know that you will come out on the other side regardless.
And with the practice and like putting in those reps, right? It's not just going through the motions either, right? Because just putting in and going through the motions and just doing it also doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't produce any results in the long run, right? It's actually the intention behind it too, right? So like part of bringing in that enjoyment and bringing in the techniques and making sure you're doing things like correctly or how you want it and making sure you do something a little different each time is part of bringing that intention into each rep so that you can improve or that you do see progress too. Exactly. So you can't just be like mindlessly like going through it or else you don't get
that's
it.
really good point.
You know?
That's what I was saying. Improvement, 1% improvement every single time. You know, I'm looking at a whole bunch of people behind the camera, right? Breaking the third wall here. And I can just tell you, I'm not a camera guy. I know production enough to just do my own thing, but, you know, like kudos to the professionals, including in this room. Any one of these guys in here that's filming us right now will tell you, doesn't matter how much school you go to, what course you take, you know, what video you watch, what you read. It's time behind the lens. That's going to give you the experience, right? And I'm telling you from personal experience, the best photographers, the best videographers, best people are literally the people that have pressed that shutter the most times with a little bit of improvement every single time, right? And one thing to speak to your whole pain thing, because it's funny, I got a high threshold for pain too, but the pain dissipates over time, right?
That's true.
Going back to cameras, right? My Lord, I wanted to throw that camera so many times because I didn't know how to do white balance and all this stuff. Like, it was so stressful. But you know what? Over time, it dissipates because you start getting used to it. You start learning, right? Your body gets stronger. Your mind has, like a stronger will. And so that's one more thing I would say, going back to like, how do you succeed on YouTube and social media, really in life, getting through the struggles, the pain will go away. It's funny how our bodies and our spirits can like over time start handling more than you could ever know. And again, people run from pain. Like they literally take pills to kill the pain, right? And I'm not hugging the pain. I'm not like Ralph. We're like, I love this. But I embrace. I'm like, okay, this sucks so bad. How do I fix it? Right. And so the only way you do it by improving little by little by little, right? Having patience again, but that's another thing. Like nobody likes to be patient. Let's be for reals. Okay. Nobody likes waiting in line, but guess what? Eventually you get to the front. You know, and so the pain will go away, because I know a lot of people right now, especially, are experiencing pain or some kind of struggle, like legit real stuff, not like, oh man, my YouTube video is not getting views kind of stuff, like legit health concerns and finances and just what's going on in the world. That too will go away. And I know this from personal experience. The chicken and rice days, right? That wasn't forever. That was probably, I don't know, like a year or two, right?
I think we were there for a couple of years.
Right?
2.5 years,
But going back to improvement, if we didn't have not just the perspective, but the work ethic to get to the next stage, we might still be living together in an apartment, which would be very scary.
I love you and everything. I just can't do that anymore.
Those are fun times, though.
Yes, it was. Well, before we close this out, do you have any last words for our audience? Any last words of wisdom? I know you spilled a lot of gems today. If you guys were listening carefully, there was a lot to be heard. But any last words of wisdom that you would want to share with everyone?
I didn't plan this out, but thinking about the name of this podcast, Spill the Tea, right? Everybody wants to know, what they went through. What's the real thing, or what's the secret? Realize your own secrets and your own story is what's most important, right? And like add to that, build to that. And rather than waiting for the answer from somebody else, you already have the answers. You just have to have the will to like utilize it and to get to the next place. For me personally, coaching creators, my goal is to make you better, to like help you succeed at a higher level. And I'll tell people my stories. I use other people's examples, but the number one way I get anybody motivated, this is my secret, I just make you feel like a badass because you have a story too, right? Yeah. Everybody's got an amazing story. And so, be proud of what you're going through and realize that struggle will be a success story one day.
I love that. That is powerful.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you.
Well, Benji, thanks
thanks
so
for
much.
having me on the show.
This is really cool. This is really fun. So, oh my gosh, what an episode. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure you hang out for our next episode. Benji, what are you drinking today, by the way?
So my favorite bubble tea flavor, this will be a new tradition for the show, is oolong, 0 sugar, and just boba, because the boba has sugar in it too. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, I cannot tell that this is 0% sugar. So I'm trying to help you stay healthy as well.
There you go. All right, guys. Until the next episode. See ya.